UConn entered the Final Four undefeated at 38-0, looking like a team on track for a perfect season and another national championship. Instead, South Carolina held the Huskies to just 48 points in a 62-48 win and snapped UConn's 54-game winning streak. That alone tells you how shocking this game was. But the deeper story is even worse for UConn. This was not some random bad night where a couple shots happened to rim out. This was a semifinal where UConn got dragged into a tougher, more physical game, and never found a clean answer once the pressure really hit. At halftime, UConn still led 26-24, so this was not a blowout from the opening tip. But South Carolina opened the second half with a 12-2 run, won the third quarter 2013, and then watched UConn completely fall apart in the fourth. The Huskies shot just 2 for 14 in the final period. That is not a late game slump. That is an offense shutting down on the biggest stage of the season.
Prime Field.
Start with the team numbers because they explain almost everything. UConn shot 19 for 61 from the field. They shot 6 for 21 from 3. They attempted only 6 free throws all night, and maybe most damaging of all, they got out-rebounded 47-32. That rebound number matters because it shows this game was not only about shot making, it was about force. It was about second chances. It was about who handled the physical fight better. And South Carolina won that fight by a mile. Yes, UConn protected the ball better in some ways than you would expect in a loss like this. But that did not matter once the Huskies stopped generating easy offense, stopped controlling the glass, and stopped getting downhill pressure. That is why the overall team grade is a D+. Because this was not just losing to a great team. This was getting pushed out of your comfort zone and failing to recover. Sarah Strong's stat line looks respectable at first glance. She had 12 points and 12 rebounds and played all 40 minutes. But once you get past the raw totals, the real story shows up fast. She shot just 4 for 16 from the field. And for a player expected to be the stabilizer and centerpiece, that efficiency drop changed the whole game. Now, to be fair, this was not a disappearing act. Strong competed. She rebounded. She stayed engaged. She battled all night. But South Carolina clearly made her uncomfortable, and UConn never found a way to free her up enough to restore control. That's the difference between an okay box score and a bad star performance. When the game got tougher, UConn needed Strong to dictate terms. Instead, she spent too much of the night reacting. That is why the grade lands at D+. Not because she quit, not because she stopped fighting, but because in a Final Four setting, UConn needed star command and did not get it. Azzi Fudd's final college game was supposed to feel like a signature moment. Instead, it became the most disappointing performance on the floor. Fudd finished with 8 points on 3 for 15 shooting and went 2 for 9 from deep. That is an F, and there is really no softer way to say it. UConn needed senior shot-making, composure, and spacing from Fudd. They needed somebody who could punish South Carolina whenever the defense overloaded elsewhere. That never happened. Whether you would describe it as rhythm disruption, physical defense, pressure, or just a complete inability to settle in, the result was the same. Fudd never looked fully comfortable, and when one of your most important scorers never looks comfortable, the offense starts to feel rushed for everybody. That is exactly what happened here. The 6 free throw attempts make it even worse, because once the jumpers stopped falling, UConn had no easy scoring source to fall back on. And for a veteran like Fudd, that is where the disappointment becomes impossible to ignore. Ashlyn Shade gets a B-. She scored 10 points on 5 for 11 shooting, and compared with most of the roster, that counts as one of the more stable performances UConn got. She was not dominant. She was not the player who took the game over, but she did provide resistance when the offense started collapsing around her. And on a night like this, resistance matters. Still, the grade stops at B- because UConn did not need a respectable game. They needed someone to swing the momentum back, and Shade never quite became that player. Sarah Williams also deserves mention here. She gets a B. Williams finished with 4 points, 5 rebounds, and shot 2 for 2 in a little over 14 minutes. That makes her one of the more interesting cases from the entire game. Because when your team loses the rebound battle by 15, and one of your efficient interior pieces barely plays, it naturally raises questions. That does not automatically prove a coaching mistake. But it absolutely makes her limited role one of the biggest discussion points coming out of this loss. Blanca Quinones gets a C. She had 7 points in 20 minutes and showed some flashes, but foul trouble kept her from settling into the game and making a bigger impact. KK Arnold gets a D. She scored only 2 points in nearly 28 minutes. She did contribute 4 assists, so this was not a total 0. But UConn needed pressure, creation, and more control from the backcourt, and they did not get enough of it from Arnold. Kaylee Heckel gets a C-. She had 5 points on 2 for 8 shooting, and the late missed layup summed up how hard this stage hit some of UConn's younger pieces. And Jana L. Alfie gets a D. In 8 minutes of action, she finished with 0 points and 0 rebounds. In a game where UConn got bullied on the boards, that lack of front court impact hurt. And once those rotation pieces failed to shift the physical battle, South Carolina's control only grew stronger. A lot of people came away from this game talking about the tension between Gino Auriemma and Dawn Staley. They talked about the handshake issue. They talked about officiating. They talked about Sarah Strong's ripped jersey. And yes, those moments were real parts of the story, but they were not the main reason UConn lost. The real reason was simpler and harsher. UConn's top players did not shoot well enough. UConn lost the rebound battle 47-32. UConn got to the foul line only 6 times. And once South Carolina took control after halftime, UConn never found a reliable offensive answer. That is the story. Not the noise, not the controversy, the basketball. Sarah Strong gets a D+. Azzi Fudd gets an F. Ashlyn Shade gets a B-. Blanca Quinones gets a C. KK Arnold gets a D. Kaylee Heckel gets a C-. Sarah Williams gets a B. Jana L. Alfie gets a D. And the overall team grade is a D+. Because this game exposed something bigger than one bad night. It exposed how vulnerable even an undefeated team can look when the rhythm disappears, the rebounds disappear, and the stars stop looking like stars. UConn still has talent. UConn still has pieces to build around. But this loss proved that talent alone is not enough when the game turns ugly. And until the Huskies show they can win that kind of fight again, this Final Four collapse is the grade that follows them.
Prime Field.